It's inevitable at some point in our lives, someone whom we care about deeply will get sick. And if they live far away, it adds a whole new level of complexity and stress.
I don't know about you, but we have 6 children spread out all across the United States. So caring for them can be problematic at times. And when our parents were still alive, we dealt with that long-distance caregiving as well. So we have some experience here.
And if we fail to adapt, we can leave our loved ones feeling neglected and isolated, honestly, when they need us the most.
We want you to take the first step towards being a more effective long-distance caregiver because your loved ones and those that care for them deserve the best that we can bring, no matter how far away they live.
And remember, the distance should never be a barrier to care. With the right strategies and tools, you can make a significant difference in your loved one's life.
You might be thinking that they're so far away that you feel helpless and you really can't contribute. But I don't think that's true. There are so many things, and we're going to cover in this video today, that you can do. And even for the ones that are sick, obviously you can't be at their bedside.
Right.
But there's a lot of ways that you can care for them. And also care for the caregivers, which we talk about.
That's very important. I think that's almost as important as caring for the sick loved one.
We probably all know people who have sisters and brothers taking care of parents that are far away. Well, my sister does that. She visits every single day. Well, who's taking care of your sister?
Right.
And that's something that we really can jump in and do as well.
Absolutely.
Well, if you're new here, I'm Mark, and this is my wife, Jody. And I have bronchitis, and Jody has a cold, so I thought I would add that.
Well, honestly, Jody doesn't have a cold. Jody was singing and dancing at her nephew's wedding this weekend and apparently lost my voice because I'm such a good singer.
So now you know a lot more about Mark and Jody.
There you go. We don't focus on the financial aspects of retirement, but rather lifestyle, health, relationships, and more.
So do us a favor, hit the subscribe button. We really would appreciate that. And more importantly, we would love for you to share this video and others with people that you care about that are on the same journey that you are so that we can spread the word.
Now, I've got personal experience in this long-distance caregiving twice, right? So my mom was diagnosed with stage 4 pancreatic cancer while I worked and lived in New York. She was living in Philadelphia. And I was bound and determined to take her file up and down the East Coast and try to find the best care and find a solution for, kind of a death sentence of a cancer diagnosis. And I'm not sure that I did it the right way. I kind of wish I had these tools and strategies before I just jumped in. I did it the old-fashioned way. In my car at 4 a.m, down to work all day, leave work, drive to Philadelphia, spend the night with my mom in the car at 4 a.m, back to work the day. And I had some real kind of miracle moments where I actually wasn't sure where I was when I was waking up. So I was the long distance kind of caregiver that didn't employ technology and strategies to kind of make it work. I felt that I needed to be there face to face. I didn't do a great job.
I disagree. I think you did a wonderful job.
Well,
I think that you showed up not only for your mom, but for your brother, and your dad was sick after that, and you went to visit. You really took care of your brother, who took care of your dad, which was really important.
Right.
But what you did for your mom was amazing. I mean, that was true.
Yeah, but what I mean by it wasn't like I didn't do it the right way. I mean, I was so tired and so strung out and so like at my wit's end all the time. I think I literally missed a year of my life.
You did.
Yeah.
No, you made a huge sacrifice. And that's a little bit of what we talked about today, is that we do need to make sacrifices.
Right.
I lost my mom and dad, and I was nearby when
Right.
they were sick, so it was a little bit easier.
And they also had hands-on, full-time care in a super nice facility.
They did.
I didn't have that.
Right. My brother Chuck is a different story. He unfortunately was diagnosed with ALS, and we were living in Florida at the time, so I flew up to Connecticut every
10 days for 4 days.
every 10 days for 4 days to
Yeah.
visit with him and my sister-in-law and their kids, and that was really hard. And I mean, I couldn't do anything to help him,
Right.
but I think showing up really did help. So that's really what we want to talk about today. One of the free downloads, there's a link below, is on the journaling guide. And when you're in a difficult time like this in your life, starting to journal about it. And I journaled so much about Chuck, and it was so helpful to get my thoughts out on a piece of paper. So anyway, download that.
So let's jump into it. The first topic that we want to get into is understanding that this is a unique challenge. Long distance caregiving goes beyond physical absence, encompassing emotional, logistical, and coordination challenges. So you kind of get hit with all of them. So it's important to recognize signs of need from afar, and then navigate your different time zones or distances for your communication setup.
But you did a couple of really good things. So you coordinated local support remotely. So you talked to the nurses, you talked to the doctors from far away. And again, I think what you did was just a yeoman's job for your mom. You didn't have feelings of guilt and helplessness, although you did feel helpless that you couldn't cure the disease.
I definitely had feelings of guilt and helplessness.
Well,
were you not involved in my life
at that time?
Well, I was,
but you overcame them. They didn't drag you down. I mean, you have to be able to do that. And you had regular contact with your mom and your brother.
And her caregivers, which was really important. The doctors, we made a pact as a family because I was far away, about 2.5 or 3 hours by car. That the doctor would get me involved. So she signed everything she needed to sign. So I had all the information that they had locally, which was important.
Yeah. And I didn't mean to say that you didn't have guilt and feel helpless. What I meant was you were able to overcome that. And
I still have it. I don't know.
But it's important.
Kind of an honest moment. I still feel guilty. And did I do enough? And was I there enough? So don't make me cry.
Okay. The second thing is, and Jody mentioned this, leveraging technology for care. So we all have phones now. We FaceTime your mom a lot. You FaceTime the doctors. So modern technology can help you bridge the gap, making this real-time care and support possible. You called your brother a lot. So I think that was really important.
Well, what was interesting is when my dad was sick, so my dad actually died of COVID. I know everyone's controversial over that, but he had underlying issues. But he was in a facility that didn't have a whole lot of technology, a state-run facility that didn't have a whole lot of technology. And my brother actually bought them iPads.
Right.
So that we could FaceTime my dad.
Yeah, that was fun.
Yeah, it was not the prettiest FaceTime ever, but we weren't able to get in to see him. So that was kind of our one point of contact. So technology is really important, I think.
Yeah.
All right, the third topic is to build a local network that is strong for you and strong for your person that you're caring for.
And you did this really well.
Well, my mom had 17 friends from high school, right? The Lunch Bunch. And the Lunch Bunch was just an incredible network for hands-on support and emergency situations. We also did a great job identifying and hiring local caregivers to the extent my mom would allow. Because again, that sick person kind of is the gatekeeper too, who's allowed into their home because my mom was in her home.
Yeah.
We engaged our neighbors and our community resources like there was no tomorrow, for sure. Forever in debt to those folks. And we established connections with local healthcare providers that would provide us the information.
And you also had the group text for the family and the granddaughters and all of that, so you could constantly keep them up to date on what was happening so that they didn't feel out of the loop.
Right.
The other piece, and you touched on this too, was really financial planning and management. With long-term care insurance and, your mom's wills and all of that, it's really important to be aware of that. Health insurance, wills and trusts, living wills, that's really important in figuring out budgeting for these caregiving expenses because it is expensive.
Well, it was expensive. At one point, we took my mom to Johns Hopkins and we knew we would be there for, I think, 7 days. So I Airbnb'd an apartment right next to the hospital so that she didn't have to go back and forth from Philadelphia to Baltimore. So, that was an expense and we had to budget for that for sure. So budgeting for caregiving expenses, I think, is very important.
Yeah. And my parents both had long-term care insurance. So going through that process, it's a great idea to have it, but they don't just pay like that. There's a lot of proof that you need to do, a lot of paperwork. So that falls on us, the kids, to take care of. So it really is important to do that.
Okay, so the fifth thing we want to talk about is emotional support and engagement. Maintaining emotional connection is vital for the well-being of both the caregiver and the recipient. regular virtual family gatherings, which we used to do with my mom on FaceTime, sending personalized care packages. There is a ton of places out there that will personalize care package that make the recipient feel so loved, and encouraging any hobbies and interests that the person can still keep up with, which I think is important. My mom was a reader, so we chose during the beginning of her care to always be reading the same book.
Yeah.
So that when I got to her house, we could talk about the book that we were reading.
Well, the sixth thing is, and I talked about this earlier, self-care for the caregiver. For my brother Chuck, who was so sick, he had full-time in-home care because this disease, ALS, is so debilitating. But for Jeannie, my sister-in-law, she really needed some help, and she had built an amazing network of people.
Absolutely.
But many times I would just go to sit with Jeannie and talk to her about how she's doing and making sure that she's okay, because it is really hard to be the primary care person on the ground with that person.
Absolutely. And the next topic is navigating legal and healthcare systems. Understanding and managing the legal and healthcare aspects are crucial to effective long-distance caregiving. Establishing, as you mentioned earlier, legal guardianship, power of attorney, coordinating with healthcare professionals early, getting all those HIPAA forms, filled so you could get the information. That was really critical because in the beginning of my mom's care, I felt out of the loop if I wasn't in the meeting physically because I could not contact the doctor. And we were able to work through that. And that's really important.
I remember we had a call from my mom's nurse. She had dementia, and she was in a nursing home, the healthcare, memory care unit of a nursing home. And they called to say that your mom hasn't eaten or drank any water in 2 days. You better come in, we need to talk about this. So my brother, my sister, and I went in, and we had to make a decision because my mom had an end-of-life decision that she didn't want any resuscitation or any help. So if she continued not eating and drinking, she would die in 2 or 3 more days. We opted for hospice care to come in and make sure that a nurse fed her and gave her water. It kept her alive for another whole year, but these are tough decisions that you have to make with brothers and sisters. So listen, caregiving is rewarding, it's meaningful, and it's difficult at the same time. But we need to figure it out so that those that we love really feel cared for.
Absolutely. When I think back on all I did to care for my mom and my dad, I know in my heart I did many of the right things. Not all of the right things, but many of the right things. The sacrifices I made to show up as true love to them was really important to me at the time, and I know it was meaningful to them.
Now, we hope you enjoyed this video. This next one, it seems odd to mention this, but top tips to declutter your home in retirement. The reason we think this video is probably good for you is when there is someone in your life who's sick, one of the things you need to do is help them clear up the space where they're going to live. So this is a great video to maybe give you some ideas on how you can do that because it's going to make life easier for everyone. So enjoy this video next.